So in the hundreds of couples that I've worked with over the years, one thing has been a recurring theme, that emotions play a pivotal role in the climate of the relationship. So how many times are you talking about what seems like to be the dishes, and all of a sudden it's about all these events that have happened in your relationship that relate to being able to rely on each other, or the roles and responsibilities and trusting mutuality and balance and how you do things. Emotions play a role in those situations where it suddenly becomes about something more fundamental, something larger, something that spans memories of other things and resentments that are still there, or where it escalates very quickly, or where there's an avoidance of a particular topic. Does that sound familiar to you? And so one of the themes you'll hear me say again and again, and in the emotions course for couples that I offer in links below, that how we relate to our emotions is one of the most important factors driving relationship satisfaction. Let me say it one more time. How we relate to our emotions is one of the most important foundational factors in the quality of our relationship satisfaction. And so it makes sense that we focus here, and it makes sense that you and your partner invest in meeting each other where you are and learning about emotions, learning about how to relate to emotions, and learning some skills for how to talk about them, how to understand them, how to regulate and co-regulate. And so what we'll be focused on in this particular offering is a companion to an article that I wrote on the role of emotions. And so we're going to be talking about why do we have them. And so we'll start off by talking about why we have them, what their role is, and then why sometimes it's difficult to connect to that role, and then why it matters. And so if that sounds good to you, stick around, and that's where we'll be going next. Before we move on to this next section, if this content is helpful to you, if it's helpful to you and your partner, if you're watching it together, which I would encourage you to do, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications button below, and that helps spread the word. I'm very excited about these offerings because they're so impactful to couples. And so I'm trying to get the word out, and I'm trying to make them available to as many people as possible. And that's challenging sometimes because there's so many sources of information. And so if this speaks to you, that would really help in terms of providing some feedback that lets the algorithms know that this is of value, that it's useful, and that puts it in the feeds of other people, which helps get the word out. So I appreciate that. So the role of emotions. Before I start, I want to say that everything I'm offering is not theoretical or conceptual. It's so important to know that it's practical. It's drawn on not academic stuff, but about what works in relationships, what I see on the ground with couples. And so what I'm going to be offering you are some practical tools that you can start using yourself with your partner right away. And they make a huge difference because emotions are in most of the interactions that we have with our partner, all of them, over breakfast, in the car, commuting somewhere, out with friends, right? Emotions are always there. And why do emotions, so one of the things that I offer is that why do they have a different quality? Why sometimes do they go from 0 to 100 very quickly in romantic relationships? Well, I talk about that more in the emotions course for couples, but in a nutshell, it's because attachment science tells us that our romantic relationship plays a uniquely important role in our lives. Add to that the three I's, that our relationship with our romantic partner is intimate, so we know a lot about each other, and so there's lots of information to draw upon, lots of experiences. It's integrated, so there's typically there's lots of parts of our lives that finances, family, all those living together, that are part of our lives, and so there's lots of opportunities. There's more opportunities for there to be experiences in a romantic relationship. And last but not least, the last I is importance, right? We depend a lot on each other. And so your romantic relationship has a high degree of importance. So all these things contribute to it, to why emotions can be so up and down in a romantic relationship, why it can be so provocative. Oftentimes I hear from couples, Why is it that there's something I could handle with a colleague or with an acquaintance or a friend, but with my partner, it's a different level of challenge. It's a different level of intensity of emotional experience. Three I's: importance, integration, intimacy contribute to that, and that's a great segue into the role of emotions, which we're going to be talking about because of importance. What I'm going to be offering is that the role of emotions are three basic things, and this is a quick summary. It's incomplete, but it's meant to be practical. One is to get our attention. The second thing is to prepare us for action, to do something. And the third thing is to tell us about what matters to us, to give us a message, a signal about there's something happening that touches into something of primary importance. So those three things again: get our attention, orient us and prepare us for action. And the third thing is to signal us, ooh, something really matters here. And so let's dive into the role of emotions in that regard. So role of emotions, they're whole body experiences. And here I have in front of me one of the handouts that's linked below, just about what those emotions are. Anger, disappointment, excitement. One of the things I'm excited doing this offering for you, and that excitement gives me energy. It orients me to focus on the material that I'm offering to you, and also tells me what's important to me. It's a signal that contribution and contributing to your lives is something that really matters to me, and I can touch into that. I'm excited. Some of the other ones are joy, when needs are being met, when things feel calm and are meeting needs. Sadness, sexual arousal or desire, and surprise. So this gives you a flavor of some of the emotions, and there's a core emotions and blend emotions handout that's linked below. One of the things that's important to have a shared understanding with your partner about what emotions are, and having a language around that with words about what the emotion labels are. So one of these things is it orients us to what's important to us. And so the offering here today is that the role of emotions are those three things. And one of them is to say, this is really important to me. And because romantic relationships are so important, because they touch so many areas of our lives, it makes sense that the intensity of the emotion is to get our attention, to orient us, to get us prepared for taking action. So what does it mean that something matters to us? Well, there are core relational needs. There are core universal needs that make life enlivening and satisfying. And so the role of emotions is to say, hey, some of those are being touched in what's happening right now. Let me give you an example. So you walk down the stairs and you say, hey, honey, there's something I want to talk to you about. And your partner says, sure, what do you want to talk about? Yeah, it'll just take 5 minutes. There's just something on my mind. We sit down you sit down on the sofa, and 2 minutes into the conversation of you sharing, your partner's phone buzzes and they pick up the phone and look at it, and you're like, I'm so aggravated right now that I need you to pay attention to me. And with that emotional experience, you're related to that emotional experience. What's important to me? I'm longing for your presence. I'm longing to be heard and understood. So the role of emotions is to say, hey, there's something really important that's happening right now. The more we can relate to the emotion like that, the more you have clarity about what's going on for you and why, and what to do about it, some options to do about it. And the second thing is also it has a soothing quality, clarity and agency about what to do about it. Some influence and control about how to respond to it is soothing. And that also is about being with your partner's emotional experience, because orienting toward, emotions have a role, they have a purpose, can be soothing. That, you're not upset with me, you're upset because of what happened and it had an impact on you and it matters. Let's figure out what matters and how to respond to it, right? And in that order too. So what matters and how to respond to it. And why does soothing matter? And why does that make a difference? Well, really quickly, the one sentence summary of that is when you have said something that you've regretted or acted in a way that you're like, that I can see how that had an impact on you, that I can see why that hurt, that were emotions involved. And so oftentimes when we react automatically with urgency, or when skills go offline because the emotional experience is really intense, when we're uncomfortable, that verbal skills, flexibility of thinking goes offline. some access to choice goes offline. And so it really matters how we soothe, self-regulate, co-regulate, and this understanding of the emotional experience in a structured framework can help with that so that we have more skills to bring. And that means that we can bring more choice and more flexibility, more consideration, more compassion in terms of, this is a way, these are some of the ways that I can respond to this emotional experience. This is some of the ways that I can understand it. And based upon that understanding of what matters to me, what I might choose to do about it from a place of choice and consideration and compassion. Compassion for me and compassion for my partner. And so here's the rub, though. Here's the thing. That unlike the signals on the dashboard of your car, oh, my oil is low, and I need, that gives me clarity about what's going on, or my tire pressure is low. Emotions are not like that. They're much more messy and complicated and ambiguous. And so what does it mean that there's a signal? The signal says, there's something to pay attention to, but not necessarily what it is or why it matters or what to do about it. Okay? And the other couple of things is that emotions can be uncomfortable, and that's also a part of the picture too. So this signal can be that, I want to do something about it because I want to either ignore what's going on, distract myself, or I want to quickly react and do something about it, or I want to just, focus on something else because it's uncomfortable. I don't have time to be sad right now. I don't have time, it's not okay for me to be angry. And so relating to these emotions and saying, neither of those things are helpful. Neither repression or resignation or ignoring them, nor taking them as, I need to act right now, I need to react to deal with them. It's in the middle of that. It's neither of those extremes. Instead, it's taking the energy of the emotion, the signal that there's something important to me, and then I'm relating to the emotional experience, right? I'm the one that is deciding what to do or discerning what the meaning is, or asking myself to pause and to breathe into the emotion and to take some beats, take some moments to choose to do nothing instead of reacting, right? How many times do we react right away? Oh, I regret what I just said or did. Okay, so relating to the emotion, and part of that is the orientation that the emotional experience has a purpose, that it's a signal, and that signal is ambiguous and can be messy. It's not always clear what it's about. So it takes some discernment. It takes some, is it this? Is it this? So what's going on in my life? What might this be about? And also, part of the handout about the emotions, there are core messages from those emotions. So, anger, is there something that's going on that I need to protect? That might be calling for protection. Sadness, is there something that I've lost or maybe at risk of losing that matters to me? Anxiety, the message might, the category of message might be, is there something that's uncertain about my future that I might need to prepare for, right? So also becoming fluent in those categories of messages helps to understand, okay, what might matter to me and why might it be coming up now with what's going on in my life? And so that's why it's important, and that's why it matters. That's what the role of emotions are, and having the opportunity to get some soothing. Oftentimes what happens when, this is what it is and this is what the message is, what might I choose to do about it? What are my options? How might I choose to respond? That those uncomfortable feelings, the intensity of them might be dialed down by that clarity and that choice in that greater understanding about what the message of the emotion might be. And again, sometimes it is ambiguous. Sometimes we might get it wrong. Sometimes it might be the case that, I thought it was this, but it's really this. Sometimes it's helpful to do that with another person, a friend or my partner if they're up for it, to say, hey, here's what's going on for me. And one of the recurring themes that I'll say again and again is that all emotions are welcome for their energy, for their orientation, and for the signal, but not all expressions of emotion. So there's a big difference between, hey, I'm really upset right now. There's something that's really important to me. I really wanted to be heard. And that versus, raising my voice and animating my body language and changing my facial expression and saying, "You never listen to me." Wildly different experiences, right? So part of what the offering is more and more investing in the relating with the emotion to understand, soothe, relate, get to the meaning of it, consider my options. And part of them is verbal expression, which can be a big cue for safety. I'm really upset right now. This is really important to me. I noticed that you went and looked on your phone, and I was in the middle of saying something, and I really would like to be heard right now. I really like your presence and your focus. Would it be okay if for the next 5 minutes we put our phones away? Notice that from that frustration, that disappointment, I get to what's calling for my attention, why it matters, and an opportunity to communicate that to my partner in a way that's most likely that they can hear me, and also that is about collaborating in what we can do about it. So the role of emotions. If this short offering was helpful to you, if it pointed in some directions that feel very relevant and very helpful for you in your romantic relationship, maybe you're watching it with your partner and it gives you some things to talk about and to try on and to practice. To remember that there are handouts below and a link to the article that I wrote that gives additional details and additional examples of this and why it's important. Things that you can try on with your partner, supports for understanding the role of emotions, and that there's also the emotions course for couples where we go step by step from what emotions are to what are the parts of the experience through to how they're signals and trying on those different categories of signals, fluency in the verbal labels of those emotions, being able to get practice with your partner about, this is sadness, this is anxiety, this is anger, this is fear. We go through and we talk about self-regulation, co-regulation, emotional responsibility, different expressions, and you and your partner get an opportunity to talk about what expressions feel good and work for the two of you. And so it's very practical, very hands-on, an opportunity to, as I said before, to make a major change in the quality of relationship by changing the way you relate to your emotional experience. So glad to be with you, and there'll be more offerings about emotions for couples, the very unique way that emotions play in romantic relationships, as I mentioned before, integration, intimacy, importance. And so I look forward to being with you in the series where I'll offer more resources and more support for you and your partner to relate to your emotions in a way that contributes to a positive qualities of your relationship, to the positive climate of your relationship. As a place to end, Sue Johnson, to paraphrase her, she said that emotions are the music in the dance of your romantic relationship. Emotions are the music in the dance of your romantic relationship. And so there's so much there that being in relationship is dancing. So it's feedback and sometimes offering something and then how your partner responds. So it's a dance. And what music do you want in your relationship? What feels good to the two of you? The two of you get to choose and get to choose, how you're dancing with each other. Is it this music? Is it this music? What's the pace of it? What's the volume of it? How does it make you feel? And so I look forward to seeing you in future resources.